Well, I'm really starting to seriously think that Mourinho is closer than ever to returning to Real Madrid since he left. We've already been reporting this information throughout the week that Florentino Perez still needs to have a conversation with Mourinho and he's going to go see him. That's what they were saying at The Athletic, Mario Cortegana and David Ornstein. This morning, Ramon Alvarez de Mont posted a tweet saying that Mourinho is the most likely option for the Real Madrid coaching job. There isn't full consensus about him, but as The Athletic reported, he's currently the option Florentino is considering right now. I'm not aware of any negotiations, but I believe they will happen between now and the end of the season. Does that line up with what Mourinho said yesterday in that press conference? The day before yesterday, I was with Benfica saying that no one from Real Madrid has spoken to me, but that's all I said. No one from Real Madrid has spoken to me. He didn't say he didn't want to go to Madrid. That issue was over. It makes me laugh because Valdano, when he was asked, who was he talking about this with the other day? With Quique Recio. When Valdano was asked on Movistar Plus about the possible future coaches of Real Madrid, he went through them one by one, mentioning each of their characteristics, etc. And when he got to Mourinho, he paused for each one, but when he got to Mourinho, he said, well, Mourinho is water under the bridge, and moved on to the next one. It's just that there was a lot of history with Mourinho back then. What happened as soon as Mourinho arrived at Real Madrid? I remember being at the Bernabeu during that press conference in late May 2010. At that time, I was covering the Motorcycle World Championship for Televisión Española, but I would sometimes visit the newsroom. If a colleague covering Madrid or football was unavailable, they'd say, Miguel Serrano, you go. I didn't have a motorcycle Grand Prix, and I remember at the Bernabeu, you knew they were like oil and water. They were two different people. Mourinho and Valdano were totally different, so I knew they wouldn't get along. After a few months, that's exactly what happened. But anyway, getting back to what we're talking about here. And if Ramon has this information, whom you know I respect a lot and who has very good information. Inside Real Madrid, if they start throwing things around. And the other day, Jose Felix Diaz, whom I mentioned earlier, and this is definitely intentional on Real Madrid's part. So are they leaking this to their trusted journalists so that they can release it if they say that Klopp has already said no? It's because that first or second contact with Klopp, whom Madrid had already spoken to since he was their first option. Well, it hasn't worked out. And does Klopp still think the same about Real Madrid as he did in January when, and the other day, we remembered his words? He criticized Xabi Alonso's exit, saying things at that club aren't completely right. At that club, things don't work the way I like, as could be understood from his words. So a lot of things would have to change. Or they would have to guarantee something really big to Klopp, like saying, you'll also be our sporting director, you'll have full powers and so on, for this man to say, okay, I'm interested in the Real Madrid offer. Under normal circumstances, I think Klopp would definitely be attracted to Real Madrid. But of course, you have to ask, which Real Madrid? The one where I go and a little star is going to rebel because they don't like something I do and I put them on the bench and it turns out the president doesn't give me the power, he gives the power to the star. Well, Klopp has said that under those circumstances, he won't go because he's very happy and calm here running everything at Red Bull, which is a company that must pay him generously, although I think Madrid would have paid him even more. Hey, maybe not, but anyway, he's comfortable there. In any case, they were saying, although we don't know this for sure, but the last box he would want to check, the last pin he would have to put on a map of countries, clubs, and football achievements would be the German national team. And I think that's kind of where things are heading. And the fact that Ramon posted this today is very significant. So I insist, closer than ever. But the one who was even closer to Real Madrid, once again, was Zinedine Zidane. We already knew this. Look, today, Jose Felix Diaz is saying this, and I have to say something, not to toot my own horn, but it really did happen. In December, in a conversation I had here with Frank Carrillo, you already know him, he's a contributor to the channel. I also have a politics channel with him. He has his sources and contacts in there, and I absolutely trust what he shared here, which was Madrid has practically already decided, except for a big surprise, and they've set the Spanish Super Cup in January as the deadline. They're no longer counting on Xabi Alonso. He thinks he's not ready to coach Real Madrid, that they made a mistake with him. And if they haven't dismissed him, it's only because that one big option they saw, because they don't see any others. And it's clear, when they replaced Xabi, they found Arbeloa because he was coaching Castilla, right? the only big option and all, and the call they made was to Zidane, but Zidane said no. Well, today, Jose Felix Diaz is publishing this, and he's saying something that I think was already known. I think it was already known, but Frank Carrillo also told us here, right? This is the video that the newspaper ASS published today.
A phone call could have changed the fate of Real Madrid. It already happened in December when Real Madrid had already decided that Xabi Alonso was going to leave the Real Madrid bench sooner or later, so Real Madrid called Zidane. But it was going to be Zidane's third stint at Real Madrid. But what did the Frenchman say? That he was sorry, but his commitment to the French national team prevented him from taking that third opportunity, right? This clearly shows that at Real Madrid, the president and directors focus on what works. They did this with Ancelotti, with Zidane, and plan to do it again. Who knows if Mourinho will return for a second stint at Real Madrid. But the truth is that the club's directors tried for a third stint of Zidane back in charge at the Santiago Bernabeu.
Well, I know exactly what this smells like because this, I insist, was already known. Frank Carrillo told us about it here, then it was almost common knowledge during the month of December. Zidane has told Madrid that he's going to coach France, so the answer is no. Why is this man saying it now? There will be people who think no because he wants to take the credit now. I think I have no proof, but I have little doubt that this is a message coming from the board. They use a journalist like Jose Felix Diaz, and it's not the first time, to make it clear that Madrid's first option is to go back to what has already worked. Madrid considered Zidane, but he declined, saying he was committed to the French national team. To smooth the path a little if it ends up being Mourinho, basically. Madrid relies on its classics and on what has worked here because it's reached a point where they don't want just any coaches. They want coaches who are already proven. That's why they put it out there that Klopp has already said no and all that. So in the end, it doesn't look like they had no choice but to turn to Mourinho. But, well, they also understand that there's a large part of the Real Madrid fans who want Mourinho, just like there's a large part of the fans who want Zidane. And Madrid is already aware of that. And that they tried before with the Frenchman. Well, I think everything is lining up so that it will indeed be Mourinho, and we'll know in a few weeks at the end of May. One last thing before tonight's match against Espanyol. I'll talk about it in this video. As always, we'll have a live stream afterwards. I hadn't covered this thing about Piqué in previous videos. This is already a couple of days old. It's the referee's report from the Andorra versus Albacete match. It says some unbelievable things, really unbelievable. We're going to read it. Once we left the locker room and were heading to the parking lot, with the Andorran security forces present at all times, Mr. Gerard Piqué and Mr. Nogue approached us, continuously protesting refereeing decisions made during the match. In addition, Gerard Piqué said, "Leave with an escort, just in case someone tries to attack you." While already in the parking area, the president of the Andorra club, Mr. Ferran Vilaseca, came within inches of the match delegate and pushed him with his chest. He clenched his fist and tried to strike, but police stopped him just before leaving the parking lot, already inside the referee's vehicle. Mr. Jaume Nogue approached us and said, "I hope you have an accident. I mean, that's a really serious thing." Ultimately, Gerard Piqué told the reporting delegate, "In another country, you would have been beaten up, but here in Andorra, we are civilized." Also, I should mention that throughout everything that happened, the local delegate was present, Mr. Christian Lanzarote. This person kept making comments that increased the existing tension and did not fulfill his duties. Well, this is the real face of Gerard Piqué. In the end, he's always been like this. The thing is, well, that's just how he is. Anyway, since he was elegant as a center-back, since he was handsome, since he married Shakira, since he defended the Spanish national team, since he was a world champion with the national team and a European champion, etc., well, his image has always been a bit whitewashed, but Gerard Piqué, well, we already talked about it ourselves when, in fact, we were going against what everyone else thought. Gerard Piqué was a professional agitator in a match, in a friendly match, Spain against France. In 2017, he came out and said that thing about the Bernabeu pulling the strings and in the box of the threads. The people who governed the country were in the VIP box at the Bernabeu, without anyone asking him about it. This guy loved to stir things up. He loved to stir things up. And now he's starting to show his true colors, if he hadn't already before. Now, as an executive at a club like Andorra, he's facing a huge sanction. Let's see, because this is absolutely intolerable. And I ask myself the following question. I mean, if it had been Real Madrid, who had paid 8.4 million to the second in command of the referees for more than 2 decades. This man wouldn't have stopped. What this man would have done would have been something else, but constant. And besides, it's just that. Of course, you just have to see how he talks to the referees, how these words show in a certain way that he believes there's some kind of refereeing campaign against him and so on. I mean, just imagine if he had documented payments to point to from his great rival, from the rival club's team to a refereeing official, etc. I mean, of course, anyway, the fuss this man would have caused, well, a lot. Much bigger than the one he's causing now. On a smaller scale, since it's Andorra, their aim is promotion to the first division and so on. When he's president of Barca, if he ever is, get ready. Because, of course, anyway. But anyway, absolutely shameful. All the best to you. Give it a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel, please. Comment, share. Happy Sunday. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms. See you later after the match against Espanyol. Let's see what kind of show we put on this time and if we end up giving the league to Barca or not. Anyway, see you later. Bye.